Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. Today's comic is Just Married, issue number 112, dated August 1976. So this probably came out in the spring. Eh, it's very typical of its time and what it is. There's nothing particularly special about any of the three stories, but they each have one thing that I kind of want to take a look at. So the first story is called Summer of Sadness, and our two protagonists are Richard, and let me see the woman's name. Sometimes they don't have it on the first page. And Naomi. Okay, so it's Richard and Naomi. Naomi's working in a department store with some electronics. Richard is on vacation there. It's kind of like a rural New England area. He finds a camera, and he finds the camera and Naomi interesting. He's able to buy one, can't buy the other, so he has to actually speak to her. The two are talking. They're hitting it off, and it turns out Richard's going to be there for the month. So anyway, he takes a picture of Naomi with the camera that he wants to buy. It's one of those instant cameras that were actually new at the time, where you took a picture and then they would spit out the photo about a minute later. It would develop right there. So anyway, kind of using this, Richard's kind of using this as a device to interact with Naomi. Naomi kind of looks like, she kind of looks a little like Suzanne Summers. Yeah, she looks like Suzanne Summers. A little bit. So Richard's kind of explaining. I think he's a science teacher, and he lives and works in New York, but he's not like a big town guy. He likes small rural New England. Naomi's there. They're kind of just talking. Naomi's making it clear that hey, dinner date, sure, count me in. So anyway, they go on a dinner date. Everything's kind of hitting it off, and Naomi's asking a little bit more about Richard, what specifics. Since he's a science teacher, so he does have a skill, but he doesn't like living in the big city. So he's a New Yorker who doesn't like being a New Yorker. Naomi's making the case that hey, small towns like this, they need science teachers too. But Richard isn't as confident about getting a job, say, where Naomi is right now. So anyway, Richard still has some time. He's still enjoying his vacation, and Naomi's enjoying his company. The two are talking. They're really hitting it off. Here you see this passionate kiss here, and but Richard has to leave. He has to go back. He has students to take care of. He has bills to pay. And it turns out that they kind of maintained a long distance relationship, which is a little harder to do back then because you basically had to write letters or you had to make phone calls, but the technology for calling back people wasn't that great, so you kind of had to set that stuff up. Turns out another summer passes and we see Richard and Naomi, they're together again. They're still very happy, but the job situation is keeping them apart. Richard is feeling much more strongly about Naomi. And then, but he does go back to New York. But Naomi notices that the letters stopped coming and the phone calls weren't being returned. And again, this is different than, pre-internet. It was hard to maintain a long-distance relationship. Naomi there, she's very upset. She doesn't know what happened. Did Richard find someone different? Did he get tired of her? She doesn't know. She's very weepy about it. But then it turns Richard comes back. And this is kind of the part I found interesting. Richard was in a car accident. And he was recovering in the hospital. And he didn't know how he would recover. He didn't know whether he would survive, but say he would lose some limbs, or whether he would be, disfigured in any way. So the reason why Richard didn't contact Naomi was that, he didn't want her to be saddled with someone who would be deformed in some way, which was a real, people worried about stuff like that. But it turns out that Richard recovered. He only has some leg problems. He does have to use a cane, but Naomi doesn't care, and because of that, Richard asked Naomi to marry him. She says yes, and they kiss, and so they're going to get married. I think Richard and Naomi are going to make it. Richard could have been much better with his communications, but Richard's a product of his time. So what he did, it felt right, like the right thing to do in the 1970s. Yeah, I think these two, Richard will get a job as a teacher. Their lives will be a little quiet, but it'll be fun. So the next story we're going to read is Made for Each Other. It's by a guy called Nicholas Allister. I'm thinking this is probably someone from the Philippines. Or no, probably someone from Spain. You didn't necessarily have to know the language to do the scripts. They were pretty much templated. So anyway, we have our couple. It's Elliot, and who's the lady? Anne. So it's Elliot and Anne. They're made for each other. They actually did get married. So this is a married couple here. Newlyweds. And we see in the background some individuals here. One of them kind of looks like Tony Orlando. Some individuals here dressed in somewhat dated clothing. You probably could find someone wearing a safari jacket in 1976, but this type of miniskirt, no one was wearing this in 1975. The ascots were always popular with a certain part of the male population. Nothing bad, nothing wrong about that. He's a little dated here. Yeah, so anyway, I'll go into the story. Just married, Elliot and Anne. They're very happy. Turns out Anne's kind of like she has a secret from Richard. Because Richard's is saying, you're the woman that I always wanted. And Anne is like, am I? Am I the woman you really wanted? Because there are things about me you don't know yet. And Anne probably should have been more forthcoming with Richard before they got married. But nevertheless, it does happen sometimes, partners withhold things. I mean, you don't have to tell your future, marriage partner about that three-way you had, but at the same time, be honest with who you are. Anyway, Richard takes Anne over the threshold. They're in their new apartment. They're kissing each other. Anne's kind of feeling guilty because Richard is just fawning over her. And Anne feels like, maybe he was a sucker for marrying me. Little low self-esteem. This outfit is very dated. It does reek of the 70s, maybe earlier 70s. This guy has an ascot and a safari jacket. And it looks like he has an earring, but it's probably part of the door. So anyway, he's asking Anne of the changes in her. Because Anne's still keeping her job, married or not. She knows, hey, we noticed ever since you got married, you've been a different Anne. You haven't been the same Anne. And Anne tells this guy that, hey, basically I changed my identity. I may have identified as one thing, but now I'm identifying as something else. And I just reject the previous version of myself. Because I have to focus on the version of myself I have to be to maintain my current life. So anyway, Anne's still feeling guilty. She feels like she's withholding information from Elliot. And it turns out that Anne and Elliot, they're going about town, kind of pedestrian artwork here, and they run across two friends. And it turns out that they're Anne's friends. But it turns out that the male friend also knows Elliot, independent of Anne. So, so the male guy, the male Anne's male friend is talking directly to her husband, saying, "Hey, you remember those parties we went to?" So Anne didn't know that Elliot knew this guy, but Anne knows the friend really well, and this is a nice looking face here. She kind of looks like Christina Hendrickson. So anyway, Elliot and Anne, they're going off to the movie. They're seeing presumably Jaws, because there's a shark on the screen there, badly drawn. Steven Spielberg would not want any part of that drawing. So anyway, Anne, she's trying to sleep. Elliot's sound asleep. Anne's trying to sleep, but she's bothered by the fact that Elliot knows that guy. So she wakes him up, saying, "Listen, I know that guy. And he's the type of guy that doesn't hang around conservative squares like you. So tell me, how exactly do you know that guy when by all rights he should have shown you the door the moment he saw you?" And Elliot doesn't feel like he has anything to hide, nor does he. He says, yeah, we had mutual friends. And Anne is still pressing Elliot, because apparently this friend is kind of like Ron Jeremy, throwing all those horrible rape parties. So Anne's aware of this guy's reputation. So she says, "Hold it, did you share that type of reputation?" And then Elliot's saying, "Yeah, I used to party around. I wasn't always like this conservative guy. And I went to parties and I was wild and crazy."
I go to clubs, let the groove on. That's kind of my life.
And Anne's saying, "Hey, I was kind of the same way."
Like to dance, disco.
And so we both thought that we were each marrying a conservative person, but it turns out we're kind of like, married to a party person. So obviously they feel better because they kind of cleared the air about this. Although honestly, they should have had this conversation before they got married. So anyway, they said, "Hey, let's go back to having parties, since we don't have to pretend to be something we truly aren't." So anyway, the two of them go to a, quote, wild and crazy party.
I would like a woman who can just get down and bowl.
Definitely very dated outfits and fashion. This person was definitely referencing 1966. Anyway, it turns out that Anne kind of wants to go home early from the party. Not that she's not having fun. She's just a little tired of it. And then she talks to her husband, Elliot, saying, "You know what? Doing that stuff is fun for a little while, but we don't need to do it all the time."
Well, I'm sick of playing the field. I don't need to date everything that moves.
Into the camera.
I'm sick of playing the field, and I don't need to date everything that moves.
And Elliot agrees. He's like, "Yeah, I had fun, but yeah, I can certainly, not do this for, extended periods of time." So they agree that they're going to continue their kind of quiet, conservative lifestyle. They'll go out to the occasional party, and they embrace at their new understanding. Yeah, this couple will be fine. Just a little miscommunication. And they both have their priorities set. I guess no more Plato's Retreat for them.
At Plato's Retreat, you can make your dreams come true. Fulfill your wildest fantasies, we've got them all for you. The pleasure and the fun will keep you feeling young, it's for you.
Plato's Retreat, located in the Ansonia Hotel, is a unique club open to free-thinking adult couples.
Okay, so here's the last story. This is the story that's the best drawn. I don't know who this person is, but it's definitely like a commercial artist. Charleston hired a lot of commercial artists who were in between jobs at Madison Avenue, largely because they would pay very little money, but they gave the artist a lot of freedom. So if the artist in question needed to pay their bills, they could take a job at Charleston, and they can decide how much effort they want to put into it. Some artists put a lot of effort into it, others put very little effort into it. The second story I read, Made for Each Other, that was definitely kind of like just pedestrian effort. Art here, as I say, is above pedestrian. It's really nice. Deals with two sisters. One is Melody and the other is Marcy. They're basically identical twins, and they would somewhat compete against each other because they were two individuals who were very competent at what they wanted to do, but it looks like they had sort of different interests. And when Melanie did something, she had to be the best at it, and not Marcy. And Marcy would always strive for excellence. So anyway, it shows the two girls as they were somewhat they're very competitive with each other, but at the same time they have different interests. Melody, it seems like she was more into the kind of the glamorous fields, like acting, being a model, doing stage work. So she was very good at being in these kind of flashier occupations or hobbies. It turns out that Marcy also is very competent herself, but she has kind of like earthier interest. So you could see her doing some contracting work here, like putting up drywall or something. We see that Marcy also was a cheerleader, so she was like cheering on the boys. She was being a group person, and then she would rather than being on fashion shoots like Melody, she would be typing, and she was a very good typist. And being a good typist could get you a job back then. Just being a typist. So we see both of the girls are very beautiful. They're very competent, but they just have different interests. So it turns out the girls also shared a boyfriend, because both of them are very beautiful. And the boyfriend is named Jeff.
I'm Jeff Castle.
Into the camera.
I'm Jeff Castle.
And during the course of dating the two of them, Jeff preferred Marcy, who was the earthier girl. And he kind of rejected Melody, who was, the flashier, glamour puss. So then it turns out that Jeff and Marcy got married. They stayed in the small town.
Well, I'm sick of playing the field. I don't need to date everything that moves.
Into the camera.
I'm sick of playing the field, and I don't need to date everything that moves.
So they're kind of like small town people. Melody, she went out to the big light. She went out to Hollywood. She went out to New York. And it turned out that she conquered. So as Jeff and Marcy get married in their small town, and they live in their small town life, Melody has become this huge Hollywood star. And it turns out that Melody is going to visit Marcy and Jeff. And this is bringing out a lot of insecurities in Marcy. So you could tell that not only did the artist put a lot of effort into it, the writer put a lot of effort into it. One of the things that's like so much fun about reading these romances from Charleston is that some of these freelancers, they put a lot of heart and soul, and they put their heart and soul into these stories. So anyway, Marcy shows up. She doesn't take the plane. She takes the train. So she's meeting up with Jeff and Marcy. They're catching up. Melody has a few gifts. She gives Jeff a little kiss. The Marcy and Jeff are talking about how successful, Melody has been the last few years. Melody's saying, hey, I'm glad you guys are happy. He was the guy I threw away. Jeff is calling bullshit on that. However, Marcy makes Jeff carry all the baggage. So Jeff is the one with the baggage. Marcy is just free as a bird. We look at the Charleston subscription service. Again, they mostly focused on genre comic books. So anyway, we see again just beautifully drawn artwork here. Melody's going back to the old home that Jeff and Marcy have built. And it seems like the poor folk, they're kind of feeling a little self-conscious because they realize that Melody has become this big Hollywood star. They're having dinner, and turns out that Jeff and Melody seem to be getting closer to each other physically. And this is kind of bothering Marcy a little bit, because she's worried about Melody. Maybe Jeff finding more interest in Melody than in her. Melody's talking to Jeff about what's it like being a big star. Melody says, it's kind of like a warehouse job. People come in, come out. You hope you just kind of, work with them well together. They're just talking. Jeff looking a little smug here. So anyway, Melody's getting a little tired of the talk. And the next page, it's the next morning. And Melody is looking as sexy as you can be. Oh, she looks so beautiful. She's hardly wearing anything. She has like this thong underwear. Oh, she definitely shaves down there. She's wearing a revealing nightie and a top. Marcy's saying, "Can you please not walk around like that in front of my husband?" So Melody's saying, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be a little more cautious." And Melody, Marcy and Jeff are talking to each other. Again, Marcy's being a little insecure. Jeff is saying, "Listen, as far as I'm concerned, I married the better model. Your model had no damage on it, so I'm fine with you. I'm not bothered by the fact that I could have been with the big Hollywood star." However, Marcy doesn't believe that. She's being kind of insecure, jealous, a little weepy. But then to sort of prove herself to Jeff, who, by the way, Jeff did not ask for this. Marcy decides she's going to doll herself up. I think they're going out to a big party, and for this party, Marcy is going all out. She is glamming herself. She's doing her hair. She's in revealing underwear, stripping down, and she looks gorgeous. Her makeup is in place. She's ready to talk to Jeff and Melody. They're ready for the party. And Marcy sees them. And Marcy sees that they're just wearing regular street clothes. So Marcy's all dolled up. Melody, the Hollywood Scarlet, she's just in regular clothing. And Jeff is in jeans. He's like, hey, we're going to treat this like we're going to the Olive Garden. But Marcy was acting like they were going to the Stork Club or some type of famous restaurant. Like I think Century 21. Anyway, Marcy's all upset. She's letting Melody know, because Melody's like, you know, she's concerned about her sister. She lets her know that, yeah, she was being a little insecure, and that she felt that maybe Jeff got the second-rate wife. By the way, I should have mentioned that the name of this story is The Second-Rate Wife. So anyway, Melody is kind of like making her sister feel better, saying, listen, I have no interest in Jeff. And I'm saying Jeff is the type of guy I wish I married. And when I'm out there in Hollywood and I'm banging all these rich, powerful guys, I'm going to be thinking, you know what, I'd rather be getting it from Jeff, small town Jeff.
You know, I only need one you.
So anyway, Marcy buys into this. Yeah, I really did get the winner. And Melody's like, yeah, sure. So anyway, Melody's going back to Hollywood. The sisters are happy that they have a new understanding, that they kind of like they bonded. They bonded in a way. You know, their love was being tested and it passed. And Jeff is there wishing Melody goodbye. Again, she's taking the train. She's not leaving by plane. And then she ends it by saying, hey, you know what? I'm happy being the small town wife that I am. It's a very chauvinistic point of view, but that some girls wanted to hear that. Okay, so this is near the end of the comic. I'm going to go into Buck's bag. Let's see what the first problem is. This is teenagers writing to Buck asking for advice. Okay, the first one is saying that there's a boy in her class. She likes him as a friend, but he's sort of taking it a little further. So he's going a little incel on her. And he's kind of hanging around her house all the time. And she wants it, she needs a kind of a nice way of saying, dude, stop this. Stop creeping me out. I don't feel that way about you, but I still like you as a friend.
A lot of times I'll just stay up, you know, late at night and watch you sleep.
She doesn't want to endanger the friendship, but at the same time, she wants to get, you know, Kid Stalker out of her house. Okay, so Buck says that you can kind of dump some of the blame on your parents. You can throw your parents under the bus by saying that your parents make you do all these chores, and if he's there, she can't do the chores, and she gets into trouble. So Buck is kind of saying, hey, throw your parents under the bus there. And then he says that if he doesn't get that hint, just straight out tell him. Just be polite, but just let him know that, hey, you know, the feelings that you have, I don't have. And we're just friends, and you don't really have to hang around me too much. Okay, so let's see what the second one is. It's from a girl. She has a problem with her boyfriend. And says her boyfriend's a very nice guy, very polite, and that there were two boys in the neighborhood who were sort of interfering with their relationship. And the two boys were trying to break up the couple. And I think the boyfriend was sort of an unwitting partner to it. He was kind of like, he sounds like a clueless idiot. He kind of didn't know that he was sort of encouraging these two boys. And the girl flipped out, and she yelled at these guys, and she yelled at her own boyfriend too. And ever since then, the boyfriend doesn't want anything to do with her. But she realizes that, you know, it was her fault why he feels this way. And she's asking, how can I fix it? And Buck says that, you know, hey, you're going to have to apologize to this guy. Saying, listen, you lost your temper and you said things that you didn't mean. And just, you know, just be totally honest. And just maybe hope he takes you back. Yeah, it's good advice. Okay, so the next one is from a 14-year-old girl. She says she's in love. And they had said hi to each other in the lunchroom, and then they started going out. And then she wrote a letter telling him how much dating him meant to her. And this freaked him out. So she thought she was writing this like, endearing love letter. And he read it as creepy stalker. So this guy said, fuck this bitch, I don't want anything to do with her. And now he's sort of like, he put her in, quote, his back pocket. So rather than actively date her, he says, listen, I think we should take things slow. Just wait for me to contact you. So he's kind of being a dick. So she sent the crazy ass letter. He realized that this wasn't going to be good long-term relationship, but for short-term stuff that she has value. And that's what Buck is thinking that this guy feels. That this guy's doing. She wants to know how she can get out of this situation. Buck is saying that this boyfriend isn't really your boyfriend. And that you should just not play his game and just sort of move on. He doesn't say anything about her crazy ass letter. Because to a degree that doesn't matter, because that event already happened. It's like, how do you deal with the current event? And Buck is just saying, hey, this guy's just using you. You can kind of dump him and just, kind of move on to someone who is more deserving. Should have told her that don't write creepy ass letters to your boyfriend of, all of 14. So anyway, that is my review of Just Married 112 from, I think I said August 1976. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.